Some breaking news to start NFL Live. Bijan Robinson getting paid. Robinson inked a new deal, making him the highest paid running back in NFL history, including over $51 million in guaranteed money. Happy for Bijan. Well-deserved, as we all agree. Mina Kimes, Marcus Spears, Adam Schefter with us for the hour. Lots to get to. Swag's got that. Oh, is that paper? Is that bread? What is that? What do you make of the deal?
Well, you know what time it is. When it's time to get paid, it's time for me to talk about getting that bag. This is the 3-yard run by Bijan Robinson, and you can see the money fall. The bag is on the balloon, and he gonna burst that balloon. But I saved something special for y'all. Look who waiting on him. Thank you. That's Jahmyr Gibbs, who's probably gonna get paid next. That's what I'm talking about, running backs. They tried to put you out, but they can't.
Yeah, I love it. The Falcons, by the way, have now given big extensions to 4 of their key starters on offense, including Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Matthew Bergeron. Let's keep the money coming down. We'll see if it'll land on some of us. All right, Adam, how did this deal come together?
Listen, they've been talking, and there have been a stint. Bijan Robinson not practicing in the early part of camp, and there being essentially a hold-in. But the sides continued to talk, and Bijan wanted to get back on the football field. And when they put together a deal that maxed out at $75 million, essentially it's a $22.25 million base salary per year on the 3 years of the extension, Bijan knew that it was time to take the deal and to get back to practice. The deal does make him the highest paid running back in NFL history. It does give him $51 million in guaranteed money. The Falcons went about as far as they were going to go on the deal. They were able to bridge their differences here over the course of the past 12 or so hours that resulted in him signing and setting the table, as Marcus mentioned, for a potential Jahmyr Gibbs deal in Detroit and a potential Jonathan Taylor deal in Indianapolis.
All right, so we'll look out for those. I was at Falcons camp recently, and it was killing Bijan to sit out. He's got to be so excited, not only for the deal, but to get back on the field with the team. Now, he's not the only player signing a new deal today. What's going on in Baltimore, Schefter?
Zay Flowers gets a new deal done with the Baltimore Ravens, a 4-year, $140 million extension, averaging $35 million a year, $108 million in guaranteed money. And the interesting part here is that Zay Flowers had been out at practice, but Baltimore and Zay Flowers have been going back and forth. And again, it gets to the certain point where the deal averages $35 million per year. Zay Flowers is one of the highest paid wide receivers in the game. At a certain point, you just sign the deal and you get it done. And that's what Zay Flowers did today. I'm sure there are other receivers across the league that took notice. Maybe Puka Nacua in Los Angeles. Maybe George Pickens in Dallas. But the wide receiver salaries are rising. Running back salaries are rising. There's more revenue across the league. And obviously, some of it is filtering down to the players, the great players at certain positions.
Yeah, those receivers you mentioned, they're like, hey, if I have a great year, big payday coming my way, as we would expect. Now, more on Flowers in a couple. Let's turn our attention back to Bijan's deal here for a minute. Robinson, now the highest paid running back in NFL history on a per-year basis, breaking Saquon Barkley's record. Robinson's $51 million in guaranteed money is second most all-time for a running back, only behind Cardinals rookie Jeremiah Love. Andrew Hawkins is with us today down in Atlanta. Good day there at the at the Falcons camp. I'm thinking about the Hawks. Hawk, what's the reaction been to Bijan's new deal out there?
Everyone's all smiles. They're super excited for him. Talked to Kyle Pitts, talked to Drake London. They were both excited that he finally got his payday after they got theirs this offseason as well as Bergeron. Early on, when he came out to practice, he dapped up every single offensive lineman. Now, I don't know if that's standard, if he does that every practice, but him being out here, he was excited to get a little bit of action. And every offensive lineman, again, they dapped up, they embraced, gave him congratulations. So I think that bodes well for the chemistry that will happen in the run game with Bijan Robinson under contract.
I like this. Hawk is a reporter. This is good stuff. You can do it all, Hawk. We appreciate you for being out there today. Let's talk a little bit more about what you can do. Bijan, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, they're all locked in long-term down in Atlanta. So the question is, who will be under center in that offense? New on NFL Live, Hawk caught up with Tua Tagovailoa last hour. Take a listen.
I view it as a competition. I understand he can't take some team reps right now. Because of what he's going through. But outside of that, he's still being able to compete in 7-on-7. He's still able to to go through some plays and whatnot in that sense. So competition is competition, regardless of where you go around this league. Everyone's good. Everyone's getting paid, regardless of what side of the ball you're on. And that's what it is.
All right, so Hawk, you're out there. You've gotten to see and kind of get the vibe around Atlanta's camp today. How should the Falcons handle the quarterback situation?
I mean, they got to let it be an open competition, but, you know, the big thing down here is that this really highly anticipated competition hasn't even taken off yet, right? With Michael Penix being restricted, you have Tua Tagovailoa managing flare-ups. A lot of the backups took most of the reps today, which is to be expected. When we did see them in the individual drills and early on in practice, they both look great. They're approaching the competition from a healthy point of view, as you heard from Tua, but the reality is them being healthy is more important than anything. And I think right now Tua has the upper hand just by virtue of how he looked in the offseason. He'll get the majority of the reps when his flare-up is kind of more manageable. But, yeah, they're going to need both of these quarterbacks to be healthy in order to get a really, really clear view of who should be their guy, Laura. And I do like being a reporter here. So, Andrew Hawkins live from Falcons camp, ESPN.
Some more breaking news coming in from Atlanta. This from our Falcons reporter, Mark Raimondi. Jalen Carter was carted off, no air cast, his face in his palm as he left the field. Now, Walker, third on the team with 5.5 sacks last season as a rookie. Adam, it's no doubt how important he is to this defense. What more can you tell us about the extent of Walker's injury?
The early indications are that it is a torn ACL, Laura, which would be devastating news for Jalon Walker, for the Atlanta Falcons to lose a player that good this early. NFL Network has reported that the initial indications are that it is a torn ACL. There'll be additional testing that Jalon Walker has to go through, but that's not the news that anybody wants to hear, particularly on a day in Atlanta where they get the deal done with Bijan Robinson. They get him back on the practice field, and now you lose one of your best young players on the defensive side of the football to what looks like a torn ACL.
Oh, man. I mean, you just hate to hear it for all the reasons, right? Jalen Walker, Mina, and this Falcons defense that really has some holes to fill in big spots. Now maybe a massive hole to fill. If this is a long-term injury, Mina, just how big a loss is this for Atlanta?
This is massive, not just because Jalon Walker showed, I think, flashes of being an exciting young player last year, was going to, take a leap this year, needed to, but because they really needed him to generate a pass rush due to some of the players that they've lost and potential suspension for their rookie pass rusher last year, James Pierce Jr., who led the team in sacks. He potentially has a suspension related to a domestic violence arrest. Other players left. David Onyemata, defensive tackle, was quite good for them. Gone. Caden Ellis, excellent blitzing linebacker, gone. Back to New Orleans. And suddenly you look at a team that last year took this huge leap, going from 30th in adjusted sack rate to second. Finally, after Falcons fans had been begging for years, let's get after the quarterback. And now, who's getting after the quarterback? It's all very much in flux, Marcus.
Yeah, Mina, you hit the point. I remember us being on the show talking about the Falcons needing to address the pass rush with a 4-man rush without having to bring extra pressure. This team went 4-0 in the last 4 games of the season, beat the Rams at home. We were there for Monday night, and it was phenomenal. I mean, beat the Rams on the road. It was phenomenal to see this young team starting to kind of find their way, and now you deal with an injury to Jalon Walker. The unfortunate part about this for him is I had him as a sleeper to explode this year. If you look at his ability to pass rush, what he was doing off the edge, he was winning one-on-ones. That's what you want to see from young players getting those matchups in the league. It's just super unfortunate. He dealt with some injuries last year during training camp. In 4 games, he had 4 of those sacks that ended up being 5.5 on the season. So you could start to see the explosiveness. This is very, very unfortunate. There's a mixed bag now going on with the Atlanta Falcons. So many good things happening from an offensive standpoint, obviously trying to figure out this quarterback situation, but getting Bijan paid, understanding who they brought in. Kyle Pitts talked about the goals of this team. Stefanski being a new head coach as well. This is just very, very unfortunate for a Falcons team, especially in a division that I still feel like was up for grabs coming into this season. But to you lose a young budding pass rusher like this is devastating at this point for the Falcons trying to assert themselves in that NFC South.
Adam, you have more to add on this too?
Yeah, listen, I think when you look, well, what's interesting now is the NFC South has been rocked by injuries through the early part of training camp. We have the Falcons losing Jalon Walker, potentially to a torn ACL that he'll undergo more testing. The Saints lost their starting defensive tackle, Brian Brzee, to a torn ACL. The Carolina Panthers lost their young pass rusher, Nick Scouton, in the first hour of drills on the first day of camp. And so we've seen 3 NFC South teams all lose significant defensive players to potentially season-ending injuries. Not the way you want to start training camp.